Hi, everybody. Happy Friday and welcome to Guild Chat and happy launch week. We have a lot to talk about today. We're going to focus on fractals today. We had quite a few updates. I don't know if you noticed or not. You guys have been talking about it a tiny bit. So if you're here for the first time, welcome. I'm your host, Ruby. If you are coming back, a repeated Guild Chat watcher, thank you for coming back and hanging out with us again. So I want to introduce our two guests real quick. Ben, I'll let you go first.
Hi, I'm Ben Arnold. I'm a content programmer for Fractals. For this release, I worked mainly on reworks to existing Fractals like Snowblind and Swampland, as well as a few tweaks to other existing Fractals like the Molten Facility rework to the beginning part, and some adjustments to like Boss AI and Underground and various bug fixes.
Sweet. Sean?
I'm Sean. I did pretty much all of the system changes with this update. I'm sure you've probably noticed that the infusions changed pretty drastically. That was most of my doing. Also did a lot of work on the Snowblind revamp.
Awesome. All right, so we are going to be taking questions at the end of today's show. We'll let these guys talk for a little bit. If you have questions, hang on to them, put them in chat. We'll have somebody gathering them up, and we will try to answer a few of them at the end. But for now, why don't we jump right in? Let's take this kind of from outside the fractals to inside the fractals and start with the fractal UI overhaul, because there was a lot of work that went into that.
Yes, there is a lot of work. So Matthew Cox did a lot of design on this, and then Nicholas LaCroix did the actual programming for it, and they did a really, really good job. I'm going to go ahead and jump in and show you guys what it looks like. But essentially, the old UI that we had for fractals was, at least for the entry UI, was very not user-friendly. You would have to really go to the wiki if you wanted to get any useful information in order to pick the correct fractal scale, know what instabilities are each scale, figure out what the dailies are, things like that. So we wanted to have this one UI window that would give you all of the information you need, split everything up into tiers really nicely, let you know which dailies there are, which ones you've already done, what the instabilities are, and all that stuff. So yeah, they did a really, really good job setting that up, and now it's just such a good user experience to actually select your own fractal scale, select the fractal scales, both at the entry to the fractal portal and in the selector in the fractal hub. So here you can see we can select the different tier tabs, and you can see all of the fractal scales lined up really nicely. You can see that if I mouse over one of these with the little purple icon next to it, it'll show you what the dailies are. So if you wanted to do your Tier 4 dailies, you could just click Tier 4 and then select these and do them one at a time. It also shows you, of course, your agony resistance for your character, your personal fractal level. It shows you what the instabilities are at each tier. It lets you do LFG, and it also lets you do a random fractal, because there were some people kind of requesting the old system of random fractals back, so we wanted to give those people a way to pick a random fractal if they don't particularly feel like doing any particular one. And also, let me unequip some agony resistance, and I'll show you that it actually gives you a little bit of a warning based on...
Good heavens.
Oh, yeah. So as you can see, well, let me take off a little more clothes here. We're not quite done. Let me just
Guild Chat After Dark, ladies and gentlemen.
just taking off a few things. I'm going to leave the pants on for now. All right.
Thank you.
So if I walk back up to this portal again, you will see it's updated the text of each of these scales. The color of the text is going to get darker and darker, and eventually it will get red if you're really in danger, but I don't have a high enough personal fractal level to select these scales down here, so you can't quite see that. And it basically lets you know that these are hazardous fractals to you. You can still do them, but it's recommended that you get enough agony resistance before you try to go in and do that.
Let's hover over one real quick so we can take a look at it. So
Sure.
it's just showing you...
Yeah, so this is the Swampland fractal at scale 77. It's showing you that we have the lethargic mistlock instability, which is reduced endurance regeneration, and then the afflicted one, where you get random conditions. And then it's also showing you that you will, if you do this fractal, get 4 achievements, which is each of the daily tier achievements for Swampland.
Nice.
Yep, so very, very useful. And then we can actually step into the fractal hub here to show off some of the new infusion changes.
Yes.
Yeah, you guys did a lot of work on that too. And let's talk first about what the infusion system used to be like and why we changed it.
Sure. So the old infusion system had multiple different types of infusions. You had offensive infusions, which would only be slotted in your weapons, defensive infusions, which would only be slotted in your armor, and then there were agony infusions, which could only be slotted in special agony infusion slots, which you got by attuning or infusing your ascended equipment. And this created a lot of confusion for new players because they would step into Fractals for the first time, they'd kill a boss, they'd get some infusions, and then they'd have some equipment with infusion slots, and they tried to put the infusions in the infusion slots, and it wouldn't fit. And they're like, well, what's this? I don't understand. And even for veteran players, once they knew how the system worked, it was still rather clunky to use and not very streamlined. So that's one of the main things we wanted to fix up with this update. With
the intent originally, it was a pretty cool system. It was just
so
not
the reason
sustainable.
we had the offensive, defensive, and agony slots to begin with was the initial concept for the infusion system was actually much larger in scope. The idea was that each offensive infusion you equipped would actually alter your weapon skills in some way, much in the way that traits currently do. So by equipping certain infusions in your weapons, you could empower your weapon skills or even get new variations on those weapon skills. The defensive infusions in your armor slots would alter your utility skills in some way. But as we were developing it, we realized that it was just too big. There was no way we'd be able to maintain a system which had multiple infusions for multiple classes with multiple skills. It was just too much to handle. So we ended up having to cut that and go to the current system where they just give some amount of strength or power, not strength, power, precision, ferocity, some amount of stats, which is less interesting, but it's ultimately something which we actually have the capacity to maintain. Unfortunately, when we made that change, we left in the structure of the offensive, defensive agony slots, even though it wasn't really doing anything. So it was basically a bunch of unnecessary complexity. So since there was no reason for it anymore, with this patch we were finally able to remove that complexity and streamline the system into something more appropriate.
Yes. So I
Let's
can
see what it
actually
looks
show
like.
the vendor that we added for this.
Yeah, so we have a new vendor here in the Fractal Hub lobby. This is Infuse5959. When you talk to him, the first thing you see is all the different infusions that you can purchase from him. None of these are new items. These were all existing items, but in order to obtain them prior to this patch, you had to collect all of these +1 infusions, leave the Fractal Hub, travel to a crafting artificer, buy a bunch of thermoclatic reagents, and then craft them up in stages where you'd combine your +1s into +2s and then your +2s into +3s, and it was actually quite an ordeal
Huge pain.
to get all the way up to +9 or +11 agony infusion that you would need. Now all you have to do is take the materials to him, and with one click, you can buy the infusion you want. And even if you've already bought some of the lower level infusions, you can still upgrade them to the level you need. So the functionality is the same, but it's much more efficient to use and much less clunky.
In addition, we have these mighty and precise infusions on the vendor now, so you can actually purchase stat infusions for cheaper than they were before.
Yes. So that's the other thing is we had sort of top-of-the-line, best-in-slot infusions that were created with the Mystic Forge before, and these would give you both agony resistance that you needed for fractals as well as some amount of attributes, power, toughness, vitality, whatever you wanted. But the weird thing about this was not only were they obtained outside of fractals despite being inherently fractal related, but none of the objects in the Mystic Forge were fractal related either, so there wasn't really any messaging in-game telling you how to get these items, or even that they existed. The only way you'd ever really discover them is probably by going to the wiki and looking them up. And even then, once you knew how to make them, they were really expensive for what you got, and cost prohibitive for the vast majority of players. So the new stat infusions that we added are obtained from fractals. You can purchase them in the fractal lobby, and they cost fractal components, fractal relics and stabilizing matrices, and infusions, all of which you get from playing fractals. So you no longer need to go to South Sun Cove from the Old Living World update in order to get passion fruit flowers, which you turn into infusions. Now you get your infusions for fractals from fractals.
Yes.
Wow, crazy thought. So, I want to back up for just 1 second, and can you give a brief description of what Agony is? Because I know we have a lot of new players who are every day dipping their toe into fractals for the first time.
Sure. So Agony is a system that is used to restrict access to higher level fractals. You can see Ben demonstrating this right now. When he walked into the Agony portal, he got a glowing purplish red buff on him. That is a condition which will deal damage to you over time, and it does increasingly more damage at higher fractal levels. But what you can do is you can equip armor or infusions with agony resistance to reduce the amount of damage that does to you.
Stop doing that.
And that is really important when you're fighting very high-level bosses, because if you don't have any agony resistance when you fight them, it's possible that the agony itself will just kill you straight out. Whereas if you have agony resistance and you get hit with agony, you'll be able to survive for much longer.
I'm sorry I asked you to do that.
No, it's fine.
But gosh.
I die all the time. This is not unique. So
Should I make you do slash deaths? All right, so upgrading is a lot easier now. Everything is more streamlined. It makes sense where things are coming from.
Yes.
And there's a lot less, oh, no, that doesn't fit there. You have this thing that you can't use. Do you want to talk a little bit about enrichments?
Yes, so enrichments are the new name for what was previously called utility infusions. They exist only on your amulet slot, and they function very differently from all other infusions. Instead of giving you some amount of offensive or defensive attribute, they apply a modifier to the loot that you're getting from the game. So if you have a gilded enrichment, you get more gold from monster drops. If you have a magical enrichment, you get more magic find. Karmic, you get more karma. Or experience, you get more experience. And because of the very different nature of these from all other infusions, we wanted to make it clear that they did not work like other infusions. So that's why we renamed them to enrichments. So it becomes very clear that enrichments are their own thing, which is really what they are. They, aside from requiring ascended equipment, there's nothing really similar to other kinds of infusions with them. I know for some players they had a little bit of a rude awakening when they logged in on patch day, because they previously did have infusions in their amulet slot, and when we switched to only using enrichments in that slot, their very first experience with the new system was, hey, my infusions don't fit anymore. And that's unfortunate, because that's exactly the kind of situation that we were trying to avoid with this patch. But unfortunately, due to that oversight, that was the first experience a lot of players had with the new system. But thankfully, once players actually figured out how everything worked, the feedback we've been getting is that the new system is way better. I just wish that we were able to message that a little bit clearer so players knew what they were going to see logging in, as opposed to logging in and getting that unexpected surprise.
Surprise usually indicates something good and fun, not something confusing and
Yeah.
unhappy.
The good news is it was sort of like a one-time thing. Now that it's done, moving forward, we shouldn't have any other instances of that kind of thing. And especially for new players who are starting to play Fractals for the first time, this system is way easier to learn than the old one.
Yeah, it really, really is.
So
you guys did good work.
one other thing we can probably talk about is the +7 and +5 versatile simple infusions. So we used to have on the vendor, you could actually purchase these +5 and +7 simple infusions that you could slot in your armor. And that was really the only way to get to 150 AR, was to buy a bunch of these with fractal relics. But now that we've changed it so that you can slot agony infusions anywhere, we've actually deprecated these infusions. You can still use them if you have them. But instead, most players are probably going to want to take those out and refund them for fractal relics and replace it with like a stat infusion or an agony infusion or something like that. So, for instance, I have this ring here that has, this is what you might normally have on live before the patch. You'd have a +7 simple infusion, then you'd have a +10 and maybe a +11 on your attuned infused ring. So I'm going to go ahead and extract all of the infusions from it.
And how do you do that?
So what you need to do is buy an infusion extraction device from the vendor here. It's going to be at the bottom tab, Mastery Items. So once you have it, you can just drag your item into the infusion extraction device to extract all of your infusions. So now I have the +11, +10, and +7 in my inventory. Now I don't want the +7 anymore because I don't need the +7 versatile. I can just replace it with agony. So what I'm going to do is go to the infusion deconstruction tab and just refund it, which is going to give me back all of the fractal relics that I originally purchased or spent on it. And then if I wanted to, I could do something like take this +11 infusion and break it into two +10 infusions. We wanted to do this because if you're trying to kind of min-max your player or your character and actually use stat infusions, you're not going to want to use +10s or +11s. You're instead going to want a mix of +5 stat, +7, +5 stat, +9 agony infusions. So we wanted to give you the opportunity to take your +11s and +10s that you already had and break them down into something that you can use to create those new infusions. So you can actually, if you have a set of +11s and +10s, you can get 150 AR just by breaking those down repeatedly until you have a bunch of +9s and +8s, which is very convenient for people who had already dropped money on these things and then needed to get their 150 AR after losing their enrichment or their utility infusion slot that they had before. Yep.
All right, so that's how the infusion changes work. Do you guys want to talk about some specific fractals now? Because I'm very excited to talk about the giant ramp in Snowblind.
Yes. Okay, so we can definitely talk about Snowblind. I'm not going to... Well, I guess I can actually walk in and see it. I can't actually beat it by myself. But
What?
Yeah, well, I could try. It'll just take me like an hour maybe. But Snowblind...
Could you do it faster, Sean? Is that what you're indicating?
No, he couldn't. No.
That
Says
realization
you.
that you've painted yourself into a corner.
I can't read the text. There it is. We'll do 88 or 86.
The monitor's large, but it's far away, you guys.
Actually, no. I'm going to do Tier 1 because I'm alone. Snowblind, Tier 1.
Okay.
So Snowblind needed a really strong rework because it was one of our weaker fractals before this patch. It's the one people were complaining about the most, mainly because it just didn't feel fun really at any part of the fractal. So I'll just start from the beginning here and kind of talk about each of the things, though I won't actually be able to progress all the way through the fractal. So this is the new starting area. You start at this little bonfire inside a cave. Normally you would spawn up on top, and I'll show you that. You would spawn way up on top of this cliff here and have to just walk all the way down, which is kind of cool the first time you do it, but after you've done it 20, 30 times, it just feels like a waste of time, and then everybody, myself included, ends up just trying to figure out ways to like jump down the scaffolding and just jump off the cliff without dying.
Yep. Because the nature of fractals is due to their repetitive content, or the fact that you're playing them over and over again. Anything which is repetitive tends to not be fun. So that's really what we were looking at with this revamp, is to remove as much of the boring repetitive parts as possible and introduce engaging mechanics that you can actually interact with.
Yeah, so one thing we also changed is the beginning of this fractal. Normally you had a bonfire that you had to burn down this bonfire right here to melt this ice wall over here. But before, it just wasn't a very interesting mechanic, and it was very easy to kind of cheat it because of a bug in the system. All you would do is light all the fires and then just kind of run around and kite all the mobs, and you could actually spam your torch in the bonfire over and over again to make it light faster because of a bug. So the whole strategy was to get your party of 5 people and just run in circles around the fire spamming your torch on it. So we didn't like that, but we liked the idea of defending a bonfire. So we decided to change up the mechanics a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and light this. And so now the bonfire is burning. It starts at 50% health, and it's going to slowly burn down. I have to go collect firewood and toss firewood into the pile to keep it alive and keep it burning. The more firewood that's in the pile, the faster the ice wall is going to actually burn down. So if I can manage to keep the bonfire lit really high, it's actually going to progress this event a lot faster. Meanwhile, these ice-brewed elementals are going to spawn around the arena and actually walk towards the center and try to basically put out the fire. If they land on it, and I just totally hit him the wrong way.
I was like,
You should show him melting.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and let him melt, because it's not like I'm going to win anyways. And he's going to hit the middle here and then melt and totally put out the fire here. He does, I think, 25% damage to the health of the bonfire. And you just have to defend this while the ice wall melts, and then once it's fully melted, it will go down, and then you can move on to the ice elemental source, which I cannot show you here, but I will still talk about it.
you hung in there super well, considering that you're soloing
I think I could have done it if I hadn't let him kill it, but that's okay.
and live on camera.
Yeah.
You did well.
The next event after this is the Ice Elemental Source event, where we have this large Ice Elemental source that's in the middle, just kind of rotating and shooting stuns all over the place at all of the players, and it just did not feel fun before, because you would get hit by one stun, and then before you could even get up, you'd get hit by another stun and another and another, and you would have to slot a bunch of stun breaks and stability to even get through it, and it didn't feel fun. So we wanted to remove all those stun breaks and add a new, more interesting mechanic. So there are still 5 fires around the elemental source, and whereas before they were only used to cleanse hypothermia from the player, now they are actually used as a main mechanic in defeating the ice elemental source. because it has 10 stacks of a buff called Rhyme Shield, which makes it immune to damage. Every stack is 10% damage resistance, so naturally all 10 will make you unable to kill it. Each time you light a fire, however, it will lose 2 stacks as long as that fire is lit. So the strategy is to keep all 5 fires lit while defeating the elemental source. And of course, there's the firewood bundles that you saw in the beginning here. You will use those to fill up all the fires and keep them lit. Generally, the strategy is to have 1 or 2 players probably run around filling up the fires, trying to keep them close to 100% while the other players burn them down. You just have to be careful because at health thresholds, he will attack the fire, and you got to keep an eye on the health of the fires, or they will go out.
Speaking of bonfires, another change we made is changing how the torch skills work.
Oh, yeah.
Where before in the patch, torches were a bundle you had to pick up and carry around. And while you're carrying the torch, you couldn't really fight anything, so you were either lighting fires or you were fighting. You couldn't really do both. Now, if you look at the bottom of the screen at the skill bar, you see that the torch skill is now a special action skill, which means you can use it while you have your weapon. So you'll always have the torch with you if you need to light something, but at the same time, you can use your weapon to fight creatures normally, and you don't have to worry about needing to light a fire and being this high-level warrior or elementalist or whatever who can unleash giant meteor swarms, but you can't light a pile of wood.
Exactly.
Well, you expended all your energy on... I can't. I did notice that you made it so you can toss the firewood in there instead of having to run up and actually be like...
Yes.
Thank
That
you
is
for
definitely
that.
something we wanted to do. We also have a movement skill on the firewood bundle, so even if your character doesn't have any movement skills or they're all on cooldown, you can get a little bit of swiftness and move faster.
Yes.
I always love those. All right, do you want to talk about the boss at the end of this
Yeah.
fractal?
So-
Weakness makes me laugh.
The boss is pretty cool. The change we did for the boss, now there's no change to the actual run to the boss. We just kind of left that run through the forest because even though it's not particularly interesting, there's nothing really that wrong with it. It's just an event, stay alive and get through. And
We added light sources.
we did add light sources, so it's easier to tell how to get through for new players, which is nice. But the actual boss, before it was so bad, especially at tier 4. But he would basically just spawn away or teleport away every 25 seconds or so.
20 seconds.
20 seconds, every 20 seconds
Even
or so.
more often.
And then you just have to survive falling ice patterns for a certain amount of time. And he would just keep doing that over and over. And he had like 7 million health at tier 4. So it just took forever. And none of his attacks were incredibly interesting. There was no other mechanics going on. It was just burn him down, he teleports away, run around. Burn him down, he teleports away. And it's not the experience we wanted for the final boss of this fractal. So what we did is we greatly reduced his health. And then we actually added some interesting mechanics to it. There's going to be different waves of mobs that are going to attack the player. You're going to have turrets around the room. And all of these things are going to give the Rhyme Shield buff to the boss that you saw on the Ice Elemental Source that gives him partial immunity or full immunity depending on how many stacks he has. So the strategy is to actually kill these creatures before fighting the boss. And a lot of them have unique attacks and things like that. And then the actual phase where he teleports away only happens 2 times. And when it does happen, it's not a time gate where you just kind of stand there and wait for a certain amount of time. Instead, you have to destroy a ice effigy that comes out of the ground. And the quicker you destroy that effigy, the quicker you will get through that phase. So groups that have a lot of DPS will actually be able to do this faster, whereas groups that don't will have a harder time.
Yeah, so that's definitely one of the big goals we wanted to achieve. Like I mentioned earlier, we wanted to remove as much waiting as possible. So instead of having the ice spike phase last a predetermined period of time regardless of what you do, by tying it to the existence of the ice effigy, we gave players not only something to do during that phase, but as soon as they accomplish that, the phase ends. So even if they burn through it really quickly and kill the effigy, they don't need to wait around for the ice spikes to finish.
Yes, exactly.
It's in a much better place now. How do you guys feel about it?
I think it's
When-
really fun, personally.
Yeah.
Just having played it 7 or 8 times on live now, just with random groups of people, everybody seems to enjoy it a lot.
Yeah,
too.
it's much approved.
Yep.
Are you hearing
improved.
your weakness makes me laugh so much less?
Yeah, he only says it 1 time now, and then he has other lines of dialogue. Oh my gosh.
What?
Yeah. It's
Okay,
amazing.
sit down, everybody.
I almost
Ooh.
removed it, but I kind of wanted to leave it in there as like the nostalgia, that line.
Could you do me a huge favor and make him say I can outrun a centaur? That would be that would be the best thing.
All right, I'm going to drop everything and patch that in, okay?
I know you have time.
By Ogden's hammer!
Yeah.
What savings? All right, why don't we talk about Swamp
Yes.
Fractal?
So Swamp, underwent a major change.
That got a facelift too.
Yeah, a big facelift. So the beginning didn't really undergo much of a change because there wasn't a whole lot wrong with that. It's a mechanic that as long as you have played it a few times and have learned how to do the different paths, it's not particularly hard.
As someone who is a trap magnet, I beg to differ. I don't know.
It's tough. You gotta know where they are.
I don't know what's wrong with me. I know where they are, and it's like my character's just like, yep, found one. It's infuriating.
Expert trap finder.
Yes. All we added to that
Not
part
even an
was
achievement.
two Invigorator rifles that the two players who normally would be just AFKing by the wisps can pick those up and run around and spray goo at their buddies to give them swiftness and vigor, which is kind of fun, and it's just something to do. It's not mandatory or anything like that.
It's just helpful.
Yeah, it's helpful, and it's got a couple other skills like stun break and slow enemies, things like that. But once you get through that part, you will get to what previously was the underwater area, which is now an encounter with the Mossman. He will ambush you, and it's in an above ground tunnel. And you just kind of kill him. He's got pretty much a lot of the same attacks he had before. He does a wolf transform consistently now. He doesn't do like random transforms. I wanted to keep him thematic with the wolves that he's spawning. And he has way, way less health. He's very, very easy to kill. And then after you destroy him, you go on and you actually get to the new Bloomhanger fight, where the majority of the time was spent on this fractal. We wanted to make this fractal one of the most difficult fractals that we have right now, mainly because right now a lot of the tier 4 fractals are not really that challenging as far as being the most difficult 5-man instance content in the game. So Swampland was an opportunity for us to provide a fractal that was very difficult mechanically, but that was also, of course, still defeatable and not raid scale difficulty. It's sort of a stepping stone to raids, if you will. So a lot of things have been changed for him. He's no longer stationary, of course. He's going to run around and rampage and do lots of high damaging attacks. And the actual mechanic is that you will take a wisp and put it in one of these 4 central clefts. And then the wisp is going to create a large green area that is basically your safe zone. You always want you and the rest of your party to be inside this safe zone because it's going to make the boss vulnerable. He's always in spirit form otherwise and invulnerable. And it also applies 100% endurance regeneration to everybody in the party, which is vital for dodging his attacks because he attacks quickly and he hits really, really hard. Mm-hmm. So you basically just kite him between these 4 wisps. It's going to keep rotating clockwise, avoiding his attacks. It's very important to dodge them. It's a fight very much about just staying alive and being mobile. And then at 75% and 50%, he's going to go into an onslaught phase. And this is, from what I've been seeing so far from comments, this is the most criticized part of the rework so far. That it's a phase where you have to survive against waves of enemies that are going to be spawning while Bloomhunger goes into the center and casts his poison rain all over the room. So it's basically just a phase where you're trying to stay alive, kind of regroup your party. It's not really a difficult part of the fractal. It's not super challenging. You just kind of group up, kill all the ads as quickly as you can. But people have likened it to a time gate from Snowblind, so that's definitely something that we would be looking to changing in future balance patches. And then after you do all the way down to 50%, if you're at tier 4, he's going to transform into his corrupted transform, which is going to increase his damage. It's going to give him a new attack, a slam attack that you must dodge at tier 4, or it's going to really, really hurt. It stuns you for a long time and does a lot of damage. And you pretty much repeat more of the same. There's going to be things spawning like oak hearts that have a particular mechanic where they have a break bar that's very easy to break, and it stuns them for, I think, 12 seconds. So they have a lot of health, but you can easily keep them out of the fight by just keeping them stunned whenever their break bar comes up. Once you get all the way down to 25% while dodging poison and attacks, he will do the party wipe mechanic at tier 4, where you have 4 wisps on the 4 corners of the arena. You need to take all 4 of them and put them in the center. It's a very simple mechanic, but you have a limited time to do it. This is really just about coordination. At the beginning of the fight, you designate one person to each corner and one person as backup, and then it's a very easy mechanic to do as long as you're focused and you're paying attention and you can and you know when he's going to the center. Once you do that, you put all 4 wisps in, then you just kill him in the center and then the fractal is over. But if you fail to do that, at tier 1 through 3 he will do damage to you and you will probably be able to keep fighting him, but at tier 4 if you fail you will wipe the party. And that is Swampland. It's a lot of changes.
It is, but it's So the Bloomhunger and Mossman fights are a little more exciting now.
Yes. Well,
It's not
Mossman,
just-
I'd say, is about the same, but Bloomhunger is much more exciting.
And you get
The
them
old
both every
Bloomhunger
time.
was just
Yeah. The
not
important
fun.
thing with Mossman is that he changed from a boss to more of a mini boss.
yes.
So he's more of a road bump now.
Yeah, he's a road bump.
I saw somebody today saying, "Poor Mossman,
yeah.
he got downgraded." Oh. All right, so now we get to talk about the Chaos Island.
Yes.
Yes.
Fractal.
So the Chaos Island is our brand new fractal that we released with this update. The majority of the work on the Chaos Fractal was done by Elijah Miller. He's not with us here today, but I think he's done an excellent job on it.
Thank you, Elijah.
Yes.
And then the map was done by Aaron Panagos.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Very beautiful.
So the concept of the Chaos Fractal is there's actually a storyline with this that I'm going to try not to spoil because it's going to be part of a episodic release which is going to tie into our future fractals as well. But we have a mysterious stranger who is doing something to warp the fractals and cause them to collide and intermesh in weird ways. So as you enter the Chaos Fractal, you appear to be on cliffside, but something's wrong. And soon you realize that there's elements of other fractals that are bleeding into there. There's elements of the uncategorized fractal with no? Okay.
No.
With these golem harpies who will try and knock you off the platforms. There are the escaped prisoners from Uncategorized 2 who will transform from the cultists. Thank you. And as you progress further into the fractal, you'll start seeing other elements of other fractals as well, where you have the Thaumanova anomaly, which is high-tech Asuran combined with the low-tech ruins of Ascalon in the urban fractal for the Chaos Anomaly fight. And then you fight that part, which is a really interesting fight because you're transitioning from fighting these kitty cat golems, which the mysterious stranger has unleashed on you, with fighting the Chaos Anomaly, and they both play out in very different ways. And the interesting thing about when you're fighting the kitty cat golems is that you start out fighting 4 of them, and they're all pretty weak. But when you kill all of them and they come back later, only 3 will come back. And the 3 that come back all get a power-up, with the one that does not come back being the one you killed last. So there's sort of a tactical evaluation you need to make of which one do we want to kill last? Do we want to kill the healer first because we don't want him healing the other enemies? Or do we want to kill the healer last because we don't want him coming back next wave? Or do we want to focus on killing the dot bot last because the party didn't really bring much condition clears because we want to focus on damage more? So at lower levels, you don't have to worry about this too much, but when you're fighting Tier 4, it is a consideration you will have to make. And then when you're fighting the Chaos Anomaly, he will drop timed bombs on you, which will follow you around. So when those bombs detonate, they create a chaos field, which will damage and blind everyone inside of it. So when he drops one of those bombs on you, you need to run away from him and drop him on the outskirts of the fight where it won't afflict your party before you can run back in and continue fighting him.
That's a lot going on.
Yeah,
It is a lot going on. One thing that you'll see is with all these reworks and the new fractals is, especially at the higher scales like Tier 4 and Tier 3, there's a lot of mechanics that need to be taken into account. And a lot of this is because we wanted to create sort of an intermediary between dungeons in the low tier fractals with instance content and raids, which are our new content, which is very demanding from skill. And we didn't really have anything between those two where there's a huge jump between doing dungeons fractals and doing raids. So especially once you get into the expert tier and master tier fractals, we wanted to have more mechanics which just create more difficult, interesting fights that players can experience before they jump right into raids.
Yes.
So talking about, some new challenges and difficult content brings up something else that I had wanted to talk about. And I'm not sure, I think a lot of this has been alleviated since the update, but something that we saw beforehand, because we had a teaser video out of the Chaos Island fractal, was, okay, I see things that look familiar. You guys literally just copy-pasted some fractals together and called it a day. And this is something
If
that I
only
had
it was
talked
that
about,
easy.
if only, right?
Yeah.
Because you guys would have a lot more time on your hands.
Yeah.
But the thing that we talked about was that just because you're seeing something that looks kind of familiar does not mean that you literally took a couple of Legos, smashed them together, and called it a week.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you guys you still built a new fractal from scratch.
Yes.
There are
Yes.
art assets that are the same.
So Aaron used existing art assets, but the way he combined them and the way he actually built this map, it's a completely fresh map. He didn't have to hand create props, but if you actually go look at all of the different scenes and the different areas, what he did is quite amazing. And it actually, a lot of things don't really look a whole lot like something in another fractal. Like you'll see when you go into the snowblind area, you'll see this gigantic arch built of just random buildings all kind of combined from the urban battlegrounds fractal, and just a bunch of jade blocks creating this gigantic wall in the snowblind area as well. There's just a lot of really creative things that he was able to do using those props that was all brand new and did take a lot of time.
It fits the whole magic gone crazy since we killed Mordremoth and threw things out of balance.
Oh, yes.
It fits the theme really nicely because, yeah, you're seeing some familiar elements, but everything's a little skewed. Everything's a little mashed together. We have golems with wings.
Columns of wings.
That was the
Wars.
thing that
Bird
so
Wars
many
2.
people picked
Yeah.
up on. Bird Wars 2. How did you guys decide which fractals to put together? Because we have, 8 different ones?
Yeah.
Smashed in there?
So there's 8 different fractals combined in the Chaos Fractal. The way we chose which fractals to put together is we wanted to take fractals that were very visually different. Because we knew that reusing art assets, we needed to do something to make it stand out from the other existing fractals. So, as I was saying, like we have the low-tech, ancient battlegrounds of the Ascalon fractal combined with the high-tech Asuran props from the Thalmanova reactor. We have the stark white, snowy landscape from the Snowblind fractal combined with the dark green jade from the Solid Ocean fractal. And then for the boss area, we've got the very sort of like industrial coal punk molten furnace weapons, like the thumpers that will smack you and grind you into a paste, combined with the high-tech Aetherblade electrified floors that will electrocute you if you stand on them. Pro tip, don't do that. And then at the start of the fractal, we obviously have the cliffside area, but the mountain man from cliffside has gone missing, and instead, taking his place are the things bleeding in from the uncategorized fractal with the jumping puzzle and the golem harpies and the escaped prisoners.
Jeez. So you've got all of these things smashed together. You have new fights. Can we talk a little bit about, I know we talked about the combination of the Snowblind and Jade Fractal where you can't just have like one guy running through
Yes.
Yes.
doing all of that.
So that area
Giving you a little
is,
hint.
it's kind of a throwback to what people already do in a lot of Dungeons and Fractals, which is just run through as fast as they can, skip everything because they don't need to kill it and they're not really interested in any more experience or the drops. And we wanted to actually turn that into a actual mechanic for this fractal where it was challenging to do that, to actually run through, and you had to do so as a group. So this is a area that looks like Snowblind with some really cool atmospheric effects, and then you see jade tentacles spread out of the ground. And basically the strategy is you need to run through with all 5 of your party and light these fires along the way until you get to an ice wall at the end. If you are able to light all 4 of the fires, you will melt down the ice wall and be able to proceed on to the boss. However, you cannot just send one player through and light all the fires. It's a mechanic where whenever you light one fire, you cannot light another fire. And you do so using the special action skill, like in Snowblind. So you need to go as a group, give yourself swiftness, make sure you have stability, or just be really good at dodging the jade tentacles and all of the wolves and things that come after you. And one person will light the first fire, one person will light the second fire until you have lit all 4. Which, if you know what you're doing and you've done it before, it can go really fast. You can just sprint through it like that and it's no problem. But if you're unfamiliar with it and you don't know where to go, or you're just not dodging well enough, then you can wipe over and over on it, and it feels really fun. It's a good mechanic for running through things, which normally it's just sprint past everything and
Yeah,
super easy.
and we've had some comments from players wondering why you can't just have one player light all 4 fires. The reason for that is we wanted to make sure that there was a teamwork element to this part of the fractal, because whenever you're fighting creatures in combat, there's obviously a teamwork element where you're working together to kill them, but we found that with a lot of puzzles in our fractals, frequently we'll just have one player get through the puzzle by themselves, like a Mesmer or something,
Always
and then
a
they'll
Mesmer.
drop a portal and portal the rest of the party up, and they just skip that part of the puzzle. So we wanted the puzzle to be something that you need to work together to get the whole party through. So that's why each player can only light a single fire.
Yes.
Nice. Teamwork.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so are
Go
there
figure.
any...
Teamwork in an MMO.
It's weird. It's like people play together. I don't know. I'm going to have to get used to this. So are there any new drops that you guys want to talk about?
Oh, I can show you
I was like,
the sword that I am currently wielding.
Yeah, let's take a look at the sword.
Let me go back to the fractal lobby real
Okay.
quick.
So this isn't actually a drop, but rather you get it from an achievement. Whenever you beat the new Chaos Fractal on scale 88 or scale 99, which is the master tier, you will automatically receive this sword. And this is the sword that the boss uses. And when it's stowed on your back, it looks kind of just like a basic, ancient sword. But when you draw it, you can see that it gets this purple sheen, and the eyes light up as well. So this is a completely unique skin. It is only available from beating this fractal at the highest tier, which is something I feel like we've been lacking in fractals, which is unique rewards, which is display that, yes, I can beat Master Teal fractals. This is my proof. So that's what this sword is.
I'm interested to find out that it's a sure thing. This is how you earn this. When we talked the other day, I clearly don't have it. I thought it was a random drop.
No, this
So
is
I'm so happy
something-
right
you
now.
just need to beat it once, but if you're able to beat it once, you can probably beat it more than once. But it's more of a proof of skill than random chance.
Very nice.
Yes, we have plans to add more things like this in the future because players really seem to like being able to get stuff.
So you have plans to add those in the future? Had to have more things like that in
More
the future?
things like that. In the
Do
future.
you have plans? I want to go back and ask a question that I meant to ask earlier. Do you have plans to give more fractals a rework that you feel like need a facelift?
Yes. So we'll just talk at the
That was
same time.
good. Everything in unison from now on.
Here, I'll let you go.
So yes, we basically, the reason we started doing reworks in the first place, and some players have asked, why are we doing reworks rather than developing brand new fractals? Well, we're doing both, and the reason for that is, since we released fractals several years ago, as a company, we've learned a lot about building more interesting and more engaging content. And the fact is that our older fractals, some of them aren't up to the quality bar that we require of our newer content, and that's painfully obvious when you come look at the new stuff versus the old stuff. So what we're trying to do with the fractal revamps is go back to our old fractals and bring them back up to that new quality bar, make them better, with the hope that a couple releases from now, we'll have everything up to the new quality bar that we've set, and we will no longer have this unfortunate situation where we have some really cool, really interesting fractals combined with some, I guess I just stand here and press 1 for 30 minutes fractals.
Yeah. It's not going to feel good if you have to do your 3 dailies and you do some really cool ones and then some really bad ones. They should all feel fun when you're doing your dailies.
That's good to know. Is there anything else on fractals you want to cover before we start taking some questions? I'm not leading you. I honestly don't know the answer to that question. Is there anything else that you guys want to talk about?
I could show the Tears of Alba since I'm standing right here.
Right, Tears of Alba.
Yeah. So we used to have, we used to have these Anguish Tears of Alba on another vendor, but they were pretty much useless, actually.
Broken.
They were broken, and also, even if they weren't broken, they weren't very helpful.
Yes.
What they would do is they'd give you 10 agony resistance that does not stack with other sources. So if you have 0 AR, you have 10. If you have 9 AR, you have 10. If you have 12, you still have 12. So it's not a very useful potion. And what we wanted to do was make it something to where you could buy this item that allows you to play a slightly higher scale with your friends. Oh, my friend's going to do my turn 100 and I only have 135 AR. I can come buy this Anguish Tear of Alba and consume it, which will give me 10 additional agony resistance for 1 hour, or if I have the Fractal Attunement Mastery, I'll get 15 agony resistance instead. And we also wanted it to kind of give a way for new players to get a little bit of AR and play with their friends at some of the lower T2 scales without having to spend a bunch of fractal relics. So we used a discounting system, sort of like what we have for the encryption keys, in which the first 5 that you buy are massively discounted. They're super cheap. They cost like 1 fractal relic and then a couple copper. And then the next 10, I think 10 you buy, it's going to be slightly more expensive. And then the next 10 you buy, it's going to be slightly more expensive all the way until the 4th time around. I'm just going to buy all of these because why not?
Because you can.
just because I can.
I like that it's
So now they're
deeply
full price.
discounted.
And now they are full
it's like
price.
Dessa's garage sale.
Yeah, pretty much. And this is an account-bound price increase. So now that I've bought all of my discounted Anguish Tears of Alba, I can no longer buy any more Anguish discounted ones on any of my other characters. But luckily now I have like 30-something potions that I can share between my characters because they are account-bound and not soul-bound.
And you have less gold and a little bit more regret.
Yes, less gold. Yeah, I don't see myself using these, but I have them now.
You know this is on live, right?
Yes,
and
it
this means something.
It's on live, but it's okay. I make sacrifices.
Well, now you don't have to worry about gearing up your other characters quite as much.
Yeah, exactly.
They're all set. Everybody help Ben remember which character he left these on later.
Yeah.
So when you're skimming through trying to remember, oh gosh, where did all those go?
And then other than that, I think there's been other changes to existing fractals. Like Molten has got a slight rework. It's not a full rework, just to make the pacing go, or the speed of the fractal a little bit faster, because a lot of time is spent waiting on the drill normally. It just kind of progresses
yeah.
through that beginning part a bit faster. Got rid of like the annoying falling rocks that would fall forever. Now they only fall a few times. The end of Underground has new changes to the boss AI.
Sean's so excited.
Yeah.
So this is another change we made with the Underground Fractal. There's 2 different bosses you can fight at the end. There's the Ice Elemental and the Dredge Power Suit. And this entire fight is based on a kiting system, where you need to specifically kite the boss under these buckets of molten ore, and then dump the molten ore on top of them. And in order to do that, you need to have one player up above manning the buckets, and another player kiting them at the bottom, while other players are wailing on the boss. And the problem with this is the boss would just randomly decide who he wanted to attack. So you would send someone up to the top to go dump the buckets, and then he's like, oh, hey, that person's up there. I'm going to walk up to the top of the buckets to try and attack them. And then the person who's trying to kite it is like, what?
Not at all frustrating.
Or
Yeah.
ranger pets. Always
Or
the
ranger pets. Sometimes the boss would just decide to start attacking your tiger, and there was nothing you could do about it. Except, put your pet away, which...
Yeah.
Anyway, we changed it so that the boss, every 20 seconds?
30. I
Every
believe.
30 seconds? Will fixate on a particular player and will follow that particular player for that entire duration. So as soon as he fixates on you, you know you have 30 seconds of him following you and only you, which gives you time to coordinate with your party. You can get under the bucket, someone from the party can go up to drop the bucket, and the rest of the party can get in position to unleash massive deeps once the bucket is dropped.
Yes.
And then you go into this sort of phase where you just trade off who he's fixated on and who's dropping the bucket and who's damaging him. And based on that, you're able to execute the required tactics of the fight much cleaner without having to worry about interference as much.
Yes.
There's a lot less random running and screaming.
Yes.
Oh,
That
yeah.
might just be my guild. I don't know. All right, so do you guys want to take some questions?
Sure.
Because we have a whole lot waiting, so I'll let you see which ones. You can fight it out over who wants to answer what.
Okay.
Ben's like, not looking.
So here's a good question from GRZ149.
Grurzy?
Grurzy. How much time do you spend creating the new fractals and the new map? So the new Chaos Islands map took us about 5 months to go from concept to completion. The fractal revamps each took about 1 to 2 months, depending on how much work we were doing. But a lot of this work was also done simultaneously. Due to the nature of development, you can't work on one specific thing 100% of the time. So having these multiple projects going allows us to be very efficient with our work.
Yes.
All right, that's fair. Ben? Do you do-
Let's, okay, one question by Thorwin TJ. Did Ben do raid stuff as well? No, I am a Fractals dev, so I have been doing Fractal stuff. I play raids on live, but I am a Fractals guy. Here's one. Smiggly Smits. Any plan to change Jade Maw? So Jade Maw itself it's a pretty fun fight. It just kind of lacks any good scaling at tier 4. So we are considering at least adding some kind of scaling to it. It probably wouldn't be a gigantic rework or anything like that, but there can be things done to Jade Maw for sure.
If I scroll past something you want, tell me.
I just read kind of slow.
That's cool.
Is that guaranteed sword ascended or exotic, and do you get to select its stats?
By Lady Salua.
Yes, by Lady Salua. The new weapon skin is just a skin.
Yeah.
It is not a piece of equipment in and of itself. So as soon as you get it, you can apply that look of the sword to any currently existing weapon that you have. It is not in and of itself a new weapon.
Spiggly Split Smits asks, what is our favorite fractal and why? What's your favorite fractal? I'm actually curious what yours is.
Yeah.
I'm actually curious what mine is.
You're very excited to find out.
I really like the new Snowblind fractal. With the changes that were made to it. I love the new boss fight with the Svanir Shaman. It's really fun when you're just running around like crazy trying to kill all the ads while also dodging the boss's attacks. I think that's probably my favorite one currently.
I think currently my favorite one's probably Chaos, because I like that it actually has story, and the fights feel really fun to me, especially the boss feels pretty good. As a melee player, I like playing the boss because I feel constantly in danger when I'm fighting him, and I like to feel in danger when I play.
But not in real life.
Danger's kind of fun sometimes.
Nice. All right. Anything else you guys want to cover on fractals?
No, I think we're pretty good. Yeah.
All right. Then I will thank you guys both very much for your time. I appreciate it greatly. Those of you coming in and watching, thank you for your time. Stick around for a few more minutes. Don't leave quite yet, because we may or may not have a short video clip. Spoiler, we do. We have a short video clip from Dan Is Not on Fire's visit last month, back in June. Wow, time flies. Until then, keep an eye on that, and stick around. Come back next week for another guild chat. It's like 2 in 2 weeks. It's weird for me. I don't know how to cope with this. But we're going to talk about the story side next week of the July 26th update. For now, follow us on Twitch so you don't miss our next show. Push that little purple button. And I will see you guys next Friday. Thank you guys again.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. I am here with Dan Howell,
Hi there.
who
Hey,
is
guys.
touring the United States.
I am.
I'm going to let you introduce yourself. I know you're probably like
Okay.
super camera shy.
Uh-huh.
But I'm going to need you to, I know, just be
Oh,
brave.
guys, I'm scared.
Yeah, be
Okay.
brave. Talk about who you are,
Right, I
what
can
you
do
do,
this.
and why you're here in town.
Okay. Hi, my name is Dan Howell. I'm one of those annoying YouTube vloggers that you probably hate. Either that or you have no idea who I am, and that's fine, that's understandable. But I'm joking. I mean, let's
Stop
be real.
that.
The only reason people are watching is if you go, oh, we're nerfing warriors, or you do something like that Central Tyria gliding announcement again. Are you going to drop a
that was
bombshell?
amazing.
That was. You caused me a heart attack.
I'm not going to tell you yet if
Well,
we're
there
dropping
you
a
go.
bombshell.
Okay, we could just sit here for 4 hours and you'll have to sit watching. But
But
yeah.
I would make it worth it.
I am a huge fan of Guild Wars 2, and I was coming into town, and these guys invited me on the show very kindly. Thanks. I just wanted to steal loads of merch, and maybe some people. And yeah, but before we chat, I wanted to play a game with you guys. Was my plan.
All right, I agreed to this, so I can't back out now. All right, do you want to explain the game?
This is a game that me and my friend Phil made. It is an app called the 7-Second Challenge. Now, you might have heard of this. It is very popular on YouTube. Everyone from, like, Miranda Sings to Markiplier has played it. And basically, you have to do whatever I say in 7 seconds.
Please keep in mind we're all tethered. We can't get up and run
You
around.
can't get up and run around. I
Right.
planned that. I
And I
hate
ca-
exercise.
and I cannot put my
seriously.
foot behind my head.
Anything that isn't just, like, mouse movements,
a
I'm
thing.
like, oh, sweating, so don't worry. No standing.
I saw you run around and touch like every wall, so
Oh, really? Okay, yeah, that was
that was a
disturbing.
one-time thing.
Purely sitting-based ones now. Okay, so you have 7 seconds, which is not a lot of time, so it's a lot quicker than you think.
I've been practicing this, you guys.
Have you actually? I bet you have.
Shut up.
Okay,
I
right.
might have a little bit.
So, I'm going to start off easy for you right now.
Thank you.
Ruby, I want you to name the 3 heavy professions. Go!
Revenant, Warrior, Guardian.
I mean, okay, that was 2 seconds.
I don't
Well,
play any of those on a regular basis.
Nerd, okay. We got a cool girl over here that knows the stuff.
No, it's just that I play the light classes, so
Okay.
I
Yep.
still play.
I had a
much,
moment where I
but-
forgot Rangers the other day. Seriously, it just happens every now and then.
They're
That
pretty
sounded like I
gettable.
was making a
Keep alive.
joke. It wasn't. I just forgot. Okay. But that was really good, so I'm going to say you nailed that. Well done. You
Thank
did a
you.
7-second
Thank you very
challenge.
much.
Okay. Would you like to play?
Oh, sure. I'll
Okay,
try.
Lena. Your first challenge is to spell in 7 seconds.
Oh,
Guild Wars backwards. Go.
no. SRAWDLIUG.
What? You actually...
That's amazing.
Ruby's wearing a shirt with its.
Oh, God, I was so impressed. What is
man.
this?
I had to
Okay,
pause intentionally at the beginning.
So Walker,
Okay. Oh yeah. Ask them to spell something backwards in a room full of merch. Good thinking, Dan.
also that question about heavy armor classes, you emailed that to me as an example.
Oh, for God's sake, stop. Okay. Are you going to cheat on me, Frosty?
I don't know. What's the question?
Well, let's
Let's
see.
find out.
Your first challenge is to
First.
list 5 things in the entire universe, it can be anything, that aren't on ArenaNet's table. Go.
Oh God.
Oh, Jesus.
Literally any object. Just say 5
that's
things.
a trick question.
Say 5 things.
Everything's on the table.
Yes!
Oh! Am I on the table?
I mean,
You
you
are
could
now.
Is this shoe on the table?
It is now.
Is
Well,
your
yeah.
blue hair on the table?
be. I mean, you could be.
We have
I mean,
proof
yeah, it's
now.
already in the total makeover
does
kit.
everything count as 5 things? I don't know. I feel like you two cheated. I can't allow another one. I'm going to say that's a fail. I'm
Oh.
sorry, that's
Nailed
a
that
strong
so
one.
hard.
Oh, okay. So they were messing around. They thought they'd pull the hood over my eyes. It's time to get serious.
You into the
Okay.
reelsies now?
Are you ready for this? Explain the worst idea for a raid boss you can possibly think of and give it a name. Go.
Raid boss that is nothing but a block of cheese, and he's called the cheese boss.
The cheese boss. There you go.
mean,
Well, you've been
it's
wondering
pretty
what
bad.
it was. You're going to get into the wizard tower in the next raid, and it's going to be a block of cheese.
The wizard tower is actually cheese.
It's made of cheese. That's the spoiler.
Shoot.
That is horrendous. I'm going to say that was a pass. Well done, Ruby. Okay. Although I really want to see a series of behind-the-scenes videos on animating and designing a block of cheese boss.
Oh, yeah,
Do not
all the
like you
different
guys.
It just
iterations.
sits there. It does nothing.
Mm.
It's a
Okay.
terrible boss. It's the worst.
Lena, I would like you to suggest a balance change for thieves that would make everybody really upset. Go.
Thieves can now only attack using their hips.
Whoa! What is that elite specialization? The stripper. I'm just saying.
That's my main. Why would you do that?
Ooh. Okay.
I
This is
never
this is
asked
going
for
into
this.
some like weird fan fiction territory that I don't
never
know if
asked
that's
for any of this.
teen rating. Guild Wars.
Yeah, rated T for teen, everybody. Oh God.
The hip-based elite specialization. Let's not think about what the legendary thong would be for that. That would just be Theron's swimsuit
Lord
no.
Farron's
from South
Speedo.
Zone. Yeah. Okay. That was pretty incredible. I
That
think
was
everyone will be quite upset. You nailed that. Okay.
I'd be upset.
Right.
Why would you do this?
What is the worst World versus World patch note that could ever be written? Go.
World versus World has been closed permanently.
That's a terrible patch note.
I mean, I don't
pretty
think people
bad.
were very happy about
That
that.
did the job. Sure. I mean, that would literally be the worst thing that you could say. It just ceases to exist. Well, is that the bombshell you're going to drop at the end of this?
Not
show?
even a little
That
bit.
is not
You're okay.
what is
You're safe.
happening.
You're okay.
Everything's fine. Okay.
I don't even like there
pretty
being that
awful.
sound clip of me saying that out there. That's gonna bite me in the ass at some point.
Maybe. No one's going to take this out of context. There
Sure.
we go.
Oh, sure. Nobody
how
does that on the
Dolphy
internet.
writes this, your life is in the balance. Okay, right. You're
Are
doing
you
pretty
new?
well so far. Okay. Your next challenge is Kiss, Marry, Kill. You see how I've censored that, but to make it appropriate.
Thank you.
Kiss, Marry, Kill, Aurora Peachy, Wooden Potatoes, or Lord Helseth. Go. Kiss.
I like them all.
Oh, come on, come on.
Oh
Kiss.
gosh.
No. Oh, where's the ruthlessness? What happened there?
I can't do it.
What? No.
Sorry. It's a good kind of fail.
Kiss Peachy, marry Wooden Potatoes, and I would kill Helseth, maybe. I don't know. He's pretty handsome.
Would you kill Helseth or would you be killing one of his clones?
That's who would you be going for? Yeah. Or
You have
I'd
to do it
like
over
to
and
marry
over and you
all
just
of
get
4 of
tired.
Helseth's forms. Okay. Well, there we go. Very diplomatic, but that was a fail.
I
Okay,
just-
I'm
I
sorry. You
panicked.
get no bonus points for that. I'm
sorry.
sorry. That is a strong fail. Right. Are you ready for this?
I think.
Can you please say Cantha confirmed 7 times really fast? Go.
Can they confirm? 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 Can they confirm?
Oh my god! That turned into like a weird remix in the middle there. What happened?
I mean, I am a composer,
Good,
so
Cantha confirmed.
I just gotta, I gotta put a beat to
By
it now.
Ogden's hammer. What savings?
Isn't that the best video you've
I
ever
so
love
seen?
it
good.
so much.
The
I don't remember
Ogden's
who did it,
Hammer
but I love
remix.
you.
He's dead, isn't he?
I've forgotten. Where's the Ogden's hammer guy?
He died in Scarlet's attack.
Did he
That was
die?
Yeah,
moment of silence for the Ogden's Hammer guy.
He might be in the mists.
maybe.
Okay, I mean, no, he's gone.
I'm
He's
gonna
a,
go
he's a
find
Norn.
him.
He doesn't get to be a ghost.
Okay.
Okay, but that was pretty incredible. You nailed
That was
it,
amazing.
right?
Kent is not confirmed.
And that
No.
is not the bombshell. We're taking through the things that aren't going to be released. Okay. Can you please do a 7-second infomercial for Lord Farron's patented red Speedos? 3, 2, 1, go.
Jesus.
Jesus.
Lord
Convince me.
Farron's
No,
Speedo's better.
I can't.
Oh, what? Come on, you sounded like you had something ready to say. How
I
would
have
you do
nothing.
it?
I mean,
you're,
all you
you're
need
the
to
shopping
do-
channel. You pull up this, and you're like, what would you say?
This is Lord Farron's Speedo. And that's really all you have to say with Lord Farron's Speedo.
I know. That's just like.
Because
Just
then there's
boom.
like
This
screaming
sells
people
itself.
waving credit
This
cards.
is Lord Farron.
I just want to say South Sun Farron is my favourite mini.
He's adorable.
It is good. Oh, Casimir's more expensive. You have
You see,
terrible
I
taste.
didn't have any
I'm just saying.
visual aids for that. If I had just had a picture of
Of
Farron
the things.
in the
Speaking
Speedo,
of which-
it would have sold itself, right?
Dara's like getting ready to kick the door in and be like, I'm here! Did somebody call me?
You know,
Did
at one
see
point
that
I made
fan
a.
art of South Sun Farron that was on, and the South Sun Braham that was on Reddit the other day?
I clicked on that at work, y'all.
Lewd.
And I mean,
That was-
there was
Let's
a
not think
safe
about
for
that
work
right
warning.
now. We've got a job to do.
I can't
be thinking
unsee
about
it.
South Sun Braham. Okay. Wow, this is getting into a deep tangent. Okay, and then the final round.
Final
Are you ready for this?
Probably not, but let's find out.
You look emotionally ready. Okay. Suggest one thing that you would rather do than read the official forums for 10 hours. Go!
Read the Reddit for 10 hours.
Shots fired.
Read the Reddit!
Your face.
I panicked.
I've never seen you more scared. I'm sorry that we did that to you. I love the Reddit. It's my favourite website. That was a valid answer. Okay. I'm going to say you nailed that.
Mark,
well
are you
done.
okay?
Okay. Lena, convince me that Ritlock and Logan aren't secretly in a relationship.
Oh, God.
Go.
That's really hard. I don't know.
Any
like,
evidence to
they
support
have
it?
a lot of just
there's a lot of
tender
evidence
moments
to support
together.
it.
So
Yep,
I'm
okay, there
sorry.
we go. No.
I don't know.
You saw he dived to catch him when
It
he was falling
was
off that bridge in the dungeon
so
cutscene.
emotional.
He did. He was like, I love
The
you.
queen,
Yeah.
no.
It's
Don't
all a
even talk to
ruse.
me.
It's all a ruse.
It is the one true pairing. Okay, I'm going to say you failed that, but well done. Okay, and are you ready? This is the last one.
Pressure's on.
How ready are you on a scale of 1 to 10?
Like, not at all, but okay.
Like, not at all. Okay. What is the story of Living World Season 3 definitely not about? Go.
Can't confirm.
Cantha.
Ooh! Okay. Wow.
Well, but you don't build a continent for a living world, really.
Yeah, I
It's a little over the top.
Wow, I mean, just saying. Okay.
It's true.
It's true. I'm sorry. I thought I'd come on here and we'd have a good time. At least 5 people have started crying
Instead,
now.
I've crushed your dreams.
I'm so sorry. Wow. But that is
Killer of
true.
fun.
So I'm going to say you nailed it. And the votes have been tabulated. Ruby, you are the winner. Well done.
What do I get?
All right.
I get like the
Wow.
whole internet, right?
You win nothing. You just,
Yes!
just pride. Just pride.
Well, all right,
There
I'll
we
take
go.
it.
Isn't that the most stressful thing you've ever done?
No, but it was.
Really?
I have children,
Okay, wow.
Fair.
but it was pretty stressful. So,
Well, you did
but I
well.
liked it.
I'm very proud
That
of
was
you.
fun. That
and
was
now you're
super
ready
fun.
to tackle anything. Seriously, you can read that Reddit for 10 hours and be like,
Okay, that was pretty stressful. I was like, I don't know.
I did something much harder. Well, there we go. Thank you. That's my game. Just as good
I
as an
like it.
MMO.
It's practically an MMO.
That's how easy it is to be a game designer.